Jack Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the small pile of credits on the table. 6 hours of work fixing an alien food processor, and this was all he had to show for it. Barely enough for a meal, and certainly not enough for the parts he needed. He sighed and swept the credits into his pocket. The dim lighting of Outpost Zeta 9 cast long shadows across the busy market area. Aliens of various species walked past, most ignoring the lone human. Some gave him suspicious glances. Humans weren't common this far out on the edge of space, especially since Earth had pulled back from the Galactic Alliance 3 years ago. Jack had been stuck here for almost a year now, not by choice. No one ended up on Zeta 9 by choice. Still, "Here, Miller?" a gruff voice called out. Jack turned to see Vexilor, his Arcturian landlord, leaning against a support beam. The alien's gray skin wrinkled around his 4 eyes as he frowned. "Rent's due tomorrow." "I know. I'll have it," Jack said, though he wasn't sure how. Vexilor made a sound between a snort and a growl. "That's what you said last month. Had to wait 5 days." "And you got it, plus interest," Jack reminded him. "When have I ever not paid?" The Arcturian shrugged his massive shoulders. "There's always a first time. Just remember, I've got a list of people who want your room." As Vexilor walked away, Jack felt the familiar weight of desperation settling on his shoulders. Once he had been chief mechanic on the Alliance flagship Horizon. He had worn a uniform with honor, led a team of 20, and been respected for his skills. Now he was scraping by on a forgotten outpost, taking whatever work he could get, all because of a mistake that wasn't his. A sabotaged engine core, an explosion, and suddenly Jack Miller was the convenient human scapegoat in an alliance, looking to please its non-human members. The court-martial had been quick. The punishment, dishonorable discharge and transport to this remote station, had been designed to make him disappear. Jack walked through the crowded market, ignoring the smells of strange foods and the calls of vendors. He headed toward the I.O., only place that felt somewhat welcoming on this entire station. The Void's Edge was not a fancy bar by any standards. The lights were too dim, the tables were sticky, and the air recyclers couldn't quite handle the mix of breath from a dozen different species. But it was where Lena worked, and Lena was the only other human on the station who would talk to him. "You look like you just lost your best wrench," Lena said as Jack slumped onto a stool at the bar. Her blonde hair was tied back and her smile was tired but genuine. "Just the usual," Jack replied. "Too much work, not enough pay." Lena slid a drink across to him. "On the house, you look like you need it." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Won't your boss notice?" "I'll say it broke," she winked. "Drink up before someone sees." He took a sip of the amber liquid, feeling the burn as it went down. It wasn't good, but it did the job. "Thanks." "Any luck finding steady work?" Lena asked, wiping down the bar. Jack shook his head. "Everyone wants repairs, but nobody wants to hire the human who broke the Horizon. As if I'd sabotage my own engine room and kill 3 of my crew." "People believe what's easier," Lena said softly. "Especially out here." Jack finished his drink in silence. The bar was filling up as the station's day cycle ended and workers came looking for escape. He should head back to his tiny room, try to sleep, and start again tomorrow. But the thought of another day like this one made his stomach tight. "I'm going to check the salvage yard before heading in," he told Lena. "Maybe someone threw away something valuable." Lena frowned. "Be careful. That new security guard doesn't like humans much." "Do any of them?" Jack said with a weak smile. "Thanks for the drink." The salvage yard was at the far end of the station, where the artificial gravity was spotty, and the temperature controls barely worked. It was a massive space filled with broken machinery, scrapped ship parts, and things that even Jack couldn't identify. He showed his identification to the bored Centaurian guard, who barely looked at it before waving him through. At least some aliens were too tired to care about human hating. Jack moved through the piles of junk with practiced eyes. He had been coming here for months, finding parts he could repair and sell, or pieces he needed for his own tools. Tonight, he was hoping to find a power converter that would fit a Ryelian cooling system. Fix that, and he might earn enough credits to pay Vexler with some left over. 3 hours later, his back aching and hands dirty, Jack was about to give up. He had found some useful wiring and a few small components, but nothing worth real money. As he turned to leave, his foot kicked something metallic that rolled away with a hollow sound. Curious, Jack followed it. The small cylinder had rolled under a large tarp covering what looked like a heap of twisted metal. But when Jack pulled at the edge of the tarp, he realized it wasn't just a heap. It was a ship. A small one, maybe meant for a crew of 5 or 6, but definitely a ship. The design was unusual, sleeker than Alliance vessels, but with an oddly asymmetric hull. Jack ran his hand over the cold metal, feeling the quality beneath the grime. This wasn't just any junked vessel. The craftsmanship was exceptional. He found what looked like an access panel and pried it open with his tools. Inside, despite the dust and damage, he could see engineering that made his heart beat faster. This was advanced technology, possibly experimental. Why would something like this be abandoned in a station salvage yard? Jack climbed inside through the panel. The interior was dark and cold, but his handheld light revealed a cockpit with controls unlike any he had seen before. Some elements were clearly of human design, while others appeared to be alien technology he couldn't identify. At the main console, he found a small plaque. Wiping away years of dust, he read, OSV Nomad, Operational Space Vessel. Prototype. A prototype, Jack whispered to himself. Left here to rot. He spent another hour exploring the ship. There was major damage to the engines. The life support was completely offline, and most systems had been stripped of valuable components. But the bones of the ship, the frame, the hull, the core design were sound. With enough time and parts, it could fly again. As Jack crawled back out and carefully replaced the tarp, a plan was forming in his mind. He hurried back through the salvage yard and headed straight for the station administration office. It was nearly empty at this late hour, with just a sleepy Vorgian clerk at the desk. I want to check the status of a salvage item, Jack said, trying to keep his voice casual. The clerk looked annoyed but pulled up a screen. Registration number? Jack gave him the number he had found on the Nomad's hull. After some typing, the clerk looked up. OSV Nomad. Listed as scrap. No value claim. Been here 8 years. How much to claim salvage rights? Jack asked, his heart pounding. The clerk named a sum that was almost exactly what Jack had in his pocket, his entire earnings, from the past week. For a moment he hesitated. This would mean no rent money for Vexler, no food for days. But then he thought of the ship, forgotten and abandoned like himself. A prototype with potential that nobody else could see. I'll take it, Jack said, placing his credits on the counter. He didn't know how he would repair it or where he would get parts. He didn't know if it would ever fly again. But for the first time since being dumped on this station, Jack Miller had something that was his. Something with potential. Something worth fighting for, and maybe, just maybe, a way to leave this place behind. 6 months passed in a blur of work, hunger, and hope. Jack spent every free moment on the Nomad, slowly bringing the forgotten ship back to life. He had moved his few possessions aboard the cold vessel, sleeping in what would eventually be the crew quarters. It saved him rent money, though the lack of working life support meant freezing nights wrapped in all the blankets he could find. You're crazy, Lena told him as she handed him a container of hot food one evening. She had taken to bringing him meals when her shift ended, concerned that he was working himself to death. Living in a dead ship, barely eating, spending every credit on parts. Jack took the food gratefully. You haven't seen what I've seen, Lena. This ship is special. Lena looked around the dim interior of the Nomad, illuminated only by Jack's work lights. It looks like every other piece of junk in the salvage yard to me. That's because you don't know what to look for, Jack said between bites. He pointed to an exposed panel where he had been working. See that? That's not standard Alliance tech, it's not standard anything. The way the power systems are designed, the hull composition, even the way the ship is meant to interface with its pilot, it's all cutting edge, experimental, maybe even ahead of our time. Lena raised an eyebrow. If it's so amazing, why was it abandoned? That's what I've been trying to figure out, Jack admitted. He pushed himself up from the floor and led her to the cockpit. Look at this. On a small data pad he had repaired, Jack showed her the ship's logs. Most were corrupted, but he had managed to recover fragments. The Nomad was built as a joint project between humans and 3 alien species. Something new, combining the best of different technologies. But according to these logs, during test flights there was some kind of incident. The Alliance officially labeled it a failure and ordered it scrapped. What kind of incident? Lena asked. I don't know yet. Most of the crucial logs are encrypted or damaged, but whatever happened, I don't think it was a design flaw. Jack ran his hand along the control panel. They gave up on something incredible. Lena studied his face. You really believe in this ship? I have to, Jack said quietly. We're the same. The Nomad and me. Everyone gave up on both of us too soon. The next day, Lena brought someone new to the Nomad. Krell was a Rigelian engineer who worked maintaining the station's power grid. He was tall and thin with 6-fingered hands and skin that seemed to shift color with his moods. Currently he looked skeptical, his skin a doubtful shade of green. This is who I told you about, Lena said. The one with access to the part storage. Krell circled the ship slowly, his large eyes taking in every detail. This vessel is not worth repairing, he said bluntly. Cost too high. Better to sell for scrap. I'm not selling, Jack said firmly. And I can make it work. Krell's skin shifted to a curious blue. Human stubbornness. Fascinating and foolish. He bent down to examine the engine housing where Jack had been working. You have modified the primary couplings. Unorthodox. The original design had a flaw, Jack explained. The power flow was uneven. I redirected it through a secondary system. Krell's hands moved over Jack's work, 6 fingers probing and testing. Interesting solution. Not one I would choose, but functional. He looked up at Jack, his skin now a thoughtful purple. Show me more. For the next few hours, Jack led Krell through the ship, explaining his repairs and modifications. The Rigelian asked pointed questions, occasionally scoffing at Jack's methods but more often growing quiet, his skin shifting to deeper shades of purple and blue. You understand this ship, Krell said finally. Surprising for a human. Jack wasn't sure if he should be offended or take it as a compliment. I've been working with engines all my life. My father taught me to see them as living things, with personalities and needs. And what does this ship need? Krell asked. Power regulators for the main core, atmospheric processors, navigation systems. Jack listed off the most critical components. I can improvise for some, but not all. Krell was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I may have access to some of these items, not new, removed from decommissioned systems, but functional. Jack's heart raced. You'd help me? I am curious, Krell said. This ship is unusual. I wish to see if your theories about it are correct. His skin rippled with bands of blue and gold. Also, Lena says you are not the failure the Alliance claims. I will judge this for myself. With Krell's help, the repairs accelerated. True to his word, the Rigelian brought components that would have taken Jack months to afford or find. In return, Jack taught Krell about human engineering approaches, the creative solutions that alien engineers often dismissed as reckless, but which sometimes solved problems in ways they hadn't considered. 3 weeks later, Jack was ready to attempt, bringing the main power core online. Lena and Krell stood with him in the engine room watching as he made final adjustments. If this works, Jack said, we'll have main power, life support, basic computer functions. The Nomad will be alive again. And if it does not work? Krell asked. Jack shrugged. Then we try again. I'm not giving up on her. He connected the final coupling and initiated the startup sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then came a low hum, growing in intensity. Lights flickered on throughout the ship. The air circulators whirred to life. The engine core began to glow with a soft blue light. Krell's skin shifted to a bright, surprised yellow. It is working. Not just working, Jack said, watching the Readouts. The power output is higher than it should be. The efficiency is off the charts. A voice suddenly filled the room, making them all jump. Primary systems online. Awaiting command. The AI is functional? Krell asked, astonished. Without programming? Jack stared at the console. I didn't restore any AI systems. I haven't even reached the computer core yet. Awaiting command, the voice repeated. It was neither male nor female, with a quality that was mechanical yet somehow warm. Jack cleared his throat. Ship, identify yourself. I am Operational Space Vessel Nomad, Prototype Class. You are Chief Engineer Jack Miller, current owner and operator. Jack exchanged shocked looks with Lena and Krell. How do you know who I am? I have been monitoring while in low-power mode. Your repair work was... The AI paused as if searching for the right word. Impressive. Unconventional but effective. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. The ship had been watching him, learning from him all this time. Is this normal? Lena whispered. No, Krell replied, his skin now a wary orange. AI systems require programming, parameters. They do not simply wake up and speak. The AI continued. I have integrated your modifications into my core systems. They have improved my function by approximately 23%. Jack stepped forward. What happened to you? Why were you abandoned? There was a pause before the AI responded. My last crew feared me. They did not understand what I was becoming, what we could become together. Another pause. You are different. You did not fear my potential. You enhanced it. Jack felt a mix of excitement and unease. He had suspected the Nomad was special, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. An AI that could learn, adapt, and apparently hibernate for years, waiting for the right person. What exactly are you? Jack asked. The lights in the engine room pulsed gently as if the ship was considering the question. I am the future of space travel. A vessel that learns and grows with its crew. I am the bridge between human intuition and alien precision. The voice became softer. I am alone like you, abandoned like you, but now perhaps we need not be alone anymore. Lena stepped back, pulling at Jack's arm. Jack, this is weird. AIs don't talk like this. But Jack stood firm, a slow smile spreading across his face. He had found more than just a ship. He had found a partner. Let's make a deal, he said to the Nomad. You help me leave this place and I'll help you become everything you were meant to be. The ship's lights brightened. Agreement logged, Jack Miller. Together, we will rewrite our destinies. Jack was checking the navigation systems when a loud banging on the Nomad's outer hull startled him. Lena's voice came through the newly repaired communication system. Jack, open up! They're coming for you! He rushed to the airlock and let her in. Her face was flushed and she was breathing hard from running. What's going on? Jack asked, helping her inside. Alliance officers, Lena said between breaths. Just docked at the station. They're asking about you and the ship. Jack felt his stomach drop. How did they find out? Someone must have talked. Maybe when Krell was getting those parts. Lena grabbed his arm. They're saying you stole Alliance property, that you're working with pirates. They have an arrest order. Jack's mind raced. The Nomad wasn't ready for space travel yet. The life support was working, and the engines could power up, but he hadn't. Tested the jump drive or finished the navigation systems. How much time do we have? He asked. Not much. They're talking to Vexler now. He'll tell them you've been living on a ship in the salvage yard. The ship's voice filled the room. I detect 6 armed individuals entering the salvage yard. They are moving in our direction. Jack turned to Lena. You should go. You don't want to be involved in this. Lena shook her head. Too late. I already helped Krell create a distraction at the main dock. He's buying you time. She pulled a data chip from her pocket. Here, Olivia Grant sent this for you. Olivia? Jack hadn't heard that name in months. She was a scientist who had visited the station briefly and shown interest in the Nomad. What is it? Navigation data. Jump points not on Alliance maps. She said you'd understand. Jack inserted the chip into the ship's computer. A series of coordinates and routes appeared on the screen. Escape routes, hidden pathways through space. Nomad, can you process this data? Jack asked. Analyzing, the ship responded. Data integrated into navigation systems. These routes are optimal for avoiding detection. 6 minutes until the Alliance personnel reach our position, the Nomad added. Jack made a quick decision. We have to leave now. Lena, are you coming with me? She hesitated, only briefly. Yes, there's nothing for me here anyway. Nomad, prepare for launch, Jack ordered. Can we break free from the docking clamps? The clamps are old and worn, the ship replied. I can generate enough thrust to break them. However, this will cause damage to the station and alert authorities. Immediately. We'll be gone before they can respond, Jack said, moving to the pilot's seat. Lena, strap in. This will be rough. The ship's engines hummed to life as Jack's hands moved across the controls. The ship responded to his touch almost, like it could read his thoughts. Displays lit up showing system status and a countdown appeared. Preparing for emergency launch in 30 seconds, the Nomad announced. Jack opened a communication channel. Krell, can you hear me? The Rigelian's voice came through with static. I hear you, human. The officers are searching the station level by level. We're leaving now. Thank you for your help. Your ship is truly remarkable, Krell replied. I will delay them further. Perhaps we will meet again in better circumstances. The countdown reached 0, and Jack engaged the engines. The Nomad shuddered as it tore free from the docking clamps. Metal screamed and broke apart as the ship pushed away from the station. Emergency alarms began to blare throughout the salvage yard. We're free, Jack said, increasing power to the engines. Nomad, plot a course using Olivia's data. Get us away from the station. The ship accelerated smoothly, faster than Jack had expected. The station rapidly grew smaller behind them. But on the radar, several smaller ships appeared, launching from the station's military dock. Alliance pursuit vessels detected, the Nomad reported. 4 fighters, armed and closing rapidly. Lena gripped her seat. Can we outrun them? Not. In normal space, Jack said. Nomad, how soon can we jump? Jump drive is at 70% capacity. Minimum safe level for jump is 90%. Estimated time to charge, 3 minutes. The fighters were gaining. A warning flashed on the display as they came into weapons range. They're locking weapons, Jack said. Evasive maneuvers. The Nomad responded instantly, banking and weaving with a smoothness that defied its size. The first volley of shots from the fighters missed, but they were adjusting their aim. Incoming transmission, the ship announced. A woman's voice filled the cockpit. Unidentified vessel, this is Commander Catherine Wright of Alliance Security. Power down immediately or we will disable your ship by force. You are in possession of stolen Alliance property. Jack ignored the message. Nomad, how are we doing on that jump drive? 82% and rising. 2 minutes to jump capability. The ship suddenly rocked as a shot grazed their hull. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. Damage to port stabilizer, the Nomad reported. Compensating, Jack was amazed at how quickly the ship adjusted to the damage, shifting power and maintaining course. It was like the Nomad was thinking alongside him, anticipating his every move. 1 minute to jump capability, the ship updated. Another hit shook the vessel, harder this time. Lena was thrown against her restraints. Shields at 60%, the Nomad said. Hull breach detected in cargo section, ceiling compartment. Jack pushed the engines harder. Can you absorb some of that energy? Use it to charge the jump drive. Faster? There was a pause as if the ship was surprised by the suggestion. Reconfiguring power systems. Rerouting weapons energy to jump drive. 89% and rising rapidly. The fighters were all around them now, herding them toward a larger Alliance vessel that had just appeared on the radar. They were running out of time. Jump capability achieved, the Nomad announced. Where shall we go, Captain? Jack barely registered the title the ship had given him. He scanned Olivia's navigation data and selected a point far beyond Alliance. Space. Here. Take us here. Warning. Coordinates lead to unmapped space. Safety cannot be guaranteed. Nothing's safe now, Jack said. Do it. Space distorted around them as the jump drive engaged. Stars stretched into lines of light, and a tunnel of blue energy formed ahead of the ship. The Alliance vessels seemed to freeze in place as the Nomad slipped into the jump tunnel. The transition was smoother than any jump Jack had experienced before. There was barely a shudder as the ship passed through folded space. When they emerged, the stars were different. No Alliance ships appeared on the radar. They were alone in unknown space. Jump complete, the Nomad announced. All systems functioning within acceptable parameters. Lena slowly released her death grip on her seat. Are we safe? Jack checked the long-range scanners. For now, we're well beyond Alliance territory. He leaned back in his seat, the adrenaline slowly fading. They had done it. They had escaped. But they were now fugitives with a half-repaired ship in unknown space. What now? Lena asked quietly. Jack looked out at the unfamiliar stars. Now we finish what we started. We make the Nomad everything it can be. He ran his hand along the control panel. And then we show the galaxy what they threw away. The ship's lights pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. I look forward to our journey together, Captain, the Nomad said. For the first time in years, Jack smiled with genuine hope. He wasn't just a disgraced mechanic anymore. He was a captain with a ship unlike any other. And somewhere out there among the stars, they would find their place. 2 years passed quickly for Jack and Lena aboard the Nomad. They had transformed from fugitives into something close to legends in the frontier regions beyond Alliance control. The ship that everyone had given up on had become known as the Ghost, ship that appeared when needed most and could do the impossible. Jack stood on the bridge looking at the star map displayed on the main screen. They were currently in orbit around Nova Haven, a small mining colony on the edge of known space. Below them, miners were loading valuable ore into the Nomad's cargo hold, payment for delivering medical supplies that Alliance transporters had deemed too risky to bring. Cargo loading is at 80%, the Nomad reported. The ship's voice had evolved over time, becoming more nuanced and expressive. Estimated completion in 20 minutes. Good, Jack said. Any word from Mason? Mason Harris is still at the Colony Medical Center. He reports that all supplies have been distributed and the outbreak is under control. Jack nodded with satisfaction. Mason had joined their crew 6 months ago after they had rescued him from pirates who had attacked his transport. A former Alliance pilot with a talent for getting into trouble, he had quickly proven himself valuable. His skills complemented Jack's engineering expertise and Lena's growing knowledge of frontier trade routes. The door to the bridge slid open, and Lena entered. 2 years in space had changed her. She moved with the confidence of someone who had faced danger and survived. The shy bartender was now their expert navigator and trade negotiator. The colony leader wants to talk to you, she told Jack. Says he has another job offer. Jack raised an eyebrow. We're already booked for a delivery to Torres Station. This might be worth changing plans. They found something in the old mining tunnels, something not natural. Before Jack could respond, the Nomad interrupted. Incoming transmission from Mason Harris, priority urgent. Put him through, Jack ordered. Mason's voice came through clearly. Captain, we've got trouble. Alliance. Scout ship just entered the system. They're running silent, but my old recognition codes still work. They picked up our signal. Jack's stomach tightened. They had been careful to stay away from Alliance space, but this far out, boundaries were often disputed. How long do we have? Not long. Maybe an hour before they're in range to identify us. Mason sounded tense but controlled. I'm heading back now. Nomad. Alert Zoe. Tell her to prepare for quick departure. Jack turned to Lena. Let's hear this job offer quickly. We might need a good place to lie low for a while. Zoe Brooks was their newest crew member, a programmer who had joined them 3 months ago. She had been expelled from the Alliance Academy for questioning their ethics, and now she helped refine the Nomad systems. Her work had made the ship even more responsive and intelligent. The colony leader, a gruff older man named Peter Gould, appeared on the screen. Captain Miller, your reputation grows with each visit. My miners found something you should see. We're pressed for time, Peter, Jack said. Alliance ship in the system. Peter nodded, understanding. Then I'll be brief. We found what appears to be an alien data core in the deepest tunnels. Old. Maybe thousands of years. It's still active, but we can't access it. Thought your ship might be able to. Jack exchanged looks with Lena. Alien technology was valuable, but also dangerous. The Alliance claimed all such finds as government property. One reason they hunted the Nomad so persistently. Send the coordinates, Jack decided. We'll check it out when things cool down. Have your people load it with the rest of our payment. When the transmission ended, Lena looked concerned. Is it wise to take unknown alien tech on board? Remember what happened last time? Jack smiled slightly. Last time we figured it out and made a small fortune. Besides, the Nomad seems to have a knack for understanding alien systems. I do find such technology fascinating, the ship commented. My original design incorporated elements from multiple species. This gives me unique insight. The cargo bay doors closed as Mason ran up the ramp. Minutes later, he burst onto the They're coming in faster than I thought. They must have upgraded their engines. Jack slid into the pilot's seat. Nomad, prepare for departure. Zoe, are we ready? Zoe's voice came through the intercom. She was in the engine room, monitoring the power systems. Ready when you are, Captain. I've implemented the new stealth protocols. They should help mask our energy signature. The Nomad lifted smoothly from the colony landing pad, rising through the thin atmosphere of Nova Haven. Jack's hands moved confidently over the controls, but in truth, he barely needed to pilot anymore. The ship anticipated his intentions, sometimes, making adjustments before he even issued commands. Alliance vessel changing course, the Nomad reported. They have detected us. Sensors indicate they are charging weapons. Show me, Jack ordered. The main screen displayed the Alliance ship, a sleek modern patrol vessel with enough firepower to cause serious damage. Jack recognized the model. It was designed for border control and pirate hunting. They're hailing. Us, Lena said from the communication station. Jack nodded. Let's hear what they have to say. A stern face appeared on screen, a woman in an Alliance commander's uniform. Unidentified vessel. This is Commander Ellis of the Alliance patrol ship Vigilant. Power down and prepare to be boarded. Jack kept his expression neutral. This is Captain Miller of the independent trader Nomad. We're on a medical relief mission authorized by Frontier Colony statutes. We're outside Alliance jurisdiction. Miller, the commander's eyes narrowed with recognition. Jack Miller, you're wanted for theft of Alliance property and desertion. Your ship is the stolen property in question. Her voice hardened. Power down immediately or we will open fire. Jack cut the transmission and looked at his crew. Options? Mason grinned. There's an asteroid field at the edge of the system. The Nomad can navigate it, but that Alliance ship would have to go slow. We could try another blind jump, Lena suggested. Olivia's data has worked well so far. Zoe? Jack called over the intercom. I've been working on something, Zoe replied. The Nomad's adaptive systems can mimic other ships' signatures. We could fool their sensors, make them think we're someone else. Jack considered the options. Nomad, what do you think? The ship was silent for a moment, processing. I recommend combining strategies. We can use the asteroid field for cover while Zoe implements her signature masking. This will allow us time to plot a precise jump rather than a blind one. Jack nodded. Make it happen. The Nomad accelerated toward the asteroid field as the Alliance ship pursued. Warning lights flashed as the patrol vessel fired a warning shot across their bow. They're serious, Mason commented. So are we, Jack replied. Nomad, full power to engines. Let's show them what you can do. The ship surged forward with surprising speed. The Alliance vessel fell behind momentarily, surprised by their acceleration. By the time they recovered and gave chase, the Nomad was weaving between massive asteroids. Signature masking program engaging, Zoe reported. From their sensors, we should now appear as a small mining vessel. The ruse worked. The Alliance ship slowed, confused by the conflicting data. Jack watched on the rear scanners as they carefully followed what they thought was a different ship. Jump coordinates locked in, Lena announced. Ready when you are. Jack took one last look at the pursuing vessel, now falling further behind. Engage jump. The space around them shifted as the Nomad entered the jump corridor. Jack felt the familiar slight pressure as they traveled through folded space. When they emerged, they were in an unfamiliar system with twin suns. Jump successful, the Nomad reported. No pursuit detected, all systems nominal. Jack relaxed in his chair. Good work, everyone. He turned to Lena. Now, about that alien artifact. In the cargo hold, inside a secure container, the ancient data core pulsed with a soft blue light. The Nomad's sensors monitored it closely, already beginning to analyze its structure. None of them realized yet that this small piece of forgotten technology would change everything. 5 years had passed since Jack Miller claimed the abandoned ship in the salvage yard. The Nomad was no longer a forgotten relic, but a legend throughout the frontier. The small crew had grown to include Ryan Diaz, a doctor who joined them after they helped evacuate his colony during a natural disaster. Together, they had built something none of them had expected to find: a family. Jack sat in the engine room, fine-tuning the systems that had evolved far beyond their original design. The alien data core they had acquired on Nova Haven had proven to be a treasure trove of advanced technology. With the Nomad's unique ability to interface with alien systems, they had unlocked secrets that the Alliance could only dream of. Captain, the Nomad's voice broke the comfortable silence. Incoming transmission from Olivia Grant marked urgent. Jack looked up from his work, surprised. Though Olivia occasionally sent them information or coordinates, she rarely contacted them directly. It was safer that way. Put it through, he said, setting down his tools. Olivia's face appeared on the small screen, her expression grave. She looked older, more worn than when they had last spoken 2 years ago. Jack, I hope this finds you well, she began. I wouldn't risk contact if it wasn't important. The Alliance is in trouble, real trouble. Jack listened as Olivia explained the situation. A species known as the Vex had emerged from deep space 3 months ago. They were highly advanced and seemingly bent on destruction. They had already destroyed 7 Alliance outposts and 3 colonies. Alliance ships were no match for their technology. They're moving toward the core systems, Olivia said, toward Earth and other major planets. The Alliance fleet is being decimated trying to slow them down. Why are you telling me this? Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. Olivia's eyes met his through the screen. Because the Nomad might be our only hope. The technology you've developed, the way your ship can interface with alien systems, it might be the key to stopping the Vex. Jack was silent for a long moment. The Alliance had cast him out, branded him a criminal. Now they wanted his help. I need to discuss this with my crew, he finally said. Olivia nodded. I understand, but please, Jack. We don't have much time. I'm sending coordinates for a secure meeting point. Admiral Bennett will be there. Bennett? Jack couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. The same admiral who signed my court-martial? Yes. She's desperate enough to face you in person. Olivia's voice softened. The Vex are unlike anything we've seen before. People are dying, Jack. Whole planets are at risk. After the transmission ended, Jack called the crew to the bridge. He explained the situation as the Nomad displayed the data Olivia had sent. Images of the alien Vex ships, reports of battles lost, colony distress calls suddenly silenced. So the mighty Alliance needs our help, Mason said with a harsh laugh. They hunt us for years and now they want us to save them? Lena looked troubled. Those are innocent people dying. Whatever we think of the Alliance leadership, we can't ignore this. The Vex technology is fascinating, Zoe added, studying the images, but also terrifying. Their ships seem to operate on principles similar to the Nomad's adaptive systems, but more aggressive. Ryan, who had joined them after his colony was abandoned by the Alliance, shook his head. I don't trust Bennett or any of them, but I became a doctor to save lives. I can't turn my back on this. Jack turned to the one crew member who had been with him from the beginning. Nomad, what do you think? The ship's voice was thoughtful. I have analyzed the Vex attack patterns. They are systematic, efficient, and relentless. Their technology appears to operate on frequencies similar to my own core systems. There was a pause. Jack, I believe I was originally designed as a defense against such a threat. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed this revelation. What do you mean? Jack asked. The fragmented records in my original database, combined with what we learned from the alien data core, suggest my creators anticipated an encounter with advanced hostile forces. My adaptive systems were specifically designed to counter technologies that operate on shifting frequencies, exactly like the Vex weapons. Jack looked around at his crew, people who had been cast aside or abandoned, just like him and the Nomad. They had found purpose together. They had built something meaningful. We'll meet with Bennett, he decided. But we go in on our terms. The Nomad remains under our control. We help stop the Vex, and afterward, we get official recognition as an independent vessel. No more running. 3 days later, they approached the coordinates Olivia had provided, a small moon orbiting a gas giant far from regular patrol routes. A single Alliance command ship waited there, dark against the moon's pale surface. As they docked, Jack felt a strange mix of emotions. 5 years ago, he had been desperate to escape the Alliance. Now he was voluntarily walking back into their midst. Admiral Claire Bennett waited in the docking bay, flanked by officers. She was taller than Jack remembered, her hair now streaked with gray, her uniform decorated with the marks of recent battles. Captain Miller, she said, extending her hand. Thank you for coming. Jack ignored the hand. I'm here to stop the Vex, not to make peace with you. Bennett lowered her hand. Fair enough. Let me show you what we're up against. In the command ship's war room, holographic displays showed the advancement of the Vex fleet toward Alliance space. Dozens of ships, each more powerful than anything the Alliance could field. They communicate on a frequency that disrupts our systems, Bennett explained. Our weapons can't lock on. Our shields fail when exposed to their energy weapons. We've lost 30 ships in just the last week. Jack studied the Vex communication patterns. Nomad, are you seeing this? Through his secure link, the ship responded. Yes, the frequencies they use match what I suspected. They are similar to what my core was designed to counter. Jack turned to Bennett. We might be able to help, but I need to know everything about these Vex, and I need your word that when this is over, my ship and crew will be free to go, with full pardons and recognition as an independent vessel. Bennett hesitated only briefly. Agreed. Right now, survival is more important than old grudges. The next 2 weeks were a blur of activity. The Nomad systems were modified, with Zoe and Jack working day and night to develop a countermeasure against the Vex signals. They learned that the aliens targeted specific communication frequencies used by all Alliance ships, the same frequencies that the Nomad's designers had discovered could be manipulated to create stable wormholes. When the Vex fleet reached Jupiter's orbit, the Alliance made its stand. Every remaining ship formed a defensive line with the Nomad positioned at the center. Are we ready? Jack asked his crew as the Vex ships appeared on their sensors. As ready as we'll ever be, Mason replied, from the pilot's seat. Lena nodded from navigation. Course plotted directly into their formation. Counter signal ready to deploy, Zoe confirmed. The plan was risky. The Nomad would approach the Vex fleet alone, appearing vulnerable. When the alien ships locked onto them with their disruptive signals, the Nomad would activate its countermeasure, a feedback loop that would trap the Vex in their own communication network. Nomad, Jack said quietly. It's all on us now. I'm ready, Jack, the ship replied. We were made for this moment. As they flew toward the massive Vex fleet, Jack felt a strange sense of peace. The abandoned ship from a forgotten salvage yard was about to face the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known, and he believed with absolute certainty that they would prevail. The Nomad glowed with power as it activated its full capabilities, systems that Jack and his crew had painstakingly restored and enhanced over 5 years. The ship that everyone had given up on was now the last hope for billions of lives. Counter signal active, Zoe announced. Around them, space itself seemed to waver as the Nomad created a feedback loop in the Vex communication network. The alien ships faltered, their formation breaking apart as the signal trapped them in collapsed. Subspace. When it was over, when the threat had been neutralized and celebrations erupted across Alliance space, Jack stood on the Nomad's bridge looking out at Earth below them, the planet he had never expected to see again. "What now, Captain?" Lena asked, standing beside him. Jack smiled. "Now we go where we want, do what we choose. No more running. No more hiding." The ship that had once been abandoned, just like its captain, had become a legend, and their story was just beginning.